please come. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Vraja Janaranjana Yashoda Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava. 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 Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol, Haribol. Jayom Vishnupad, Paramahansa Parivrajacharya, Stotra Sattva Shri Srimati Goswami's Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Transcendental Bhakti Sudhir Ki Jai. All goes to the assembled devotees, all goes to Shri Shri Guru, and Gauranga goes to Shri Guru. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 14, The Forest of Enjoyment, text number 3. It's a prose verse, so I will just read it myself, and we will go through the word by word. Atta cha yatra kautumbika darapatyadayo namna karmana vrikashri kala evani chatopi kadaryasya kutumbina urana kavat samrakshamanang mishatopi haranti. Word by word translation. Ata, in this way. Cha, also. Yatra, in which. Kautumbika, the family members. Dara apatya adaya, beginning with the wife and children. Namna, by name only. Karmana, by their behavior. Vrikashrigalaha, tigers and jackals. Eva, certainly. Anichataha, of one who does not desire to spend his wealth. Api, certainly. Kadaryasya, being too miserly. Kutumbinaha, who is surrounded by family members. Urana kavat, like a lamb. Samrakshamanang, although protected. Mishataha, of one who is observing. Api, even. Haranti, they forcibly take away. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear King, family members in this material world go under the names of wife and children but actually they behave like tigers and jackals. A herdsman tries to protect his sheep to the best of his ability, but the tigers and foxes take them away by force. Similarly, although a miserly man wants to guard his money very carefully, his family members take away all his assets forcibly, even though he is very vigilant. Purport. One Hindi poet has sung, Din ka dakini rat, kabhagini palak palak, rahu chushe. During the daytime, the wife is compared to a witch, and at night she is compared to a tigress. Her only business is sucking the blood of her husband both day and night. During the day, there are household expenditures, and the money earned by the husband at the cost of his blood is taken away. At night, due to sex pleasure, the husband discharges blood in the form of semen. In this way, he is bled by his wife both day and night. Yet he is so crazy that he very carefully maintains her. Similarly, the children also are like tigers, jackals, and foxes. As tigers, jackals, and foxes take away lambs despite the herdsman's vigilant protection, children take away the father's money, although the father supervises the money himself. Thus, family members may be called wives and children, but actually they are plunderers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Shivaram Swami Niti Namine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Okay, once again the verse. My dear king, family members in this material world go under the names of wife and children, but actually they behave like tigers and jackals. A herdsman tries to protect his sheep to the best of his ability, but the tigers and foxes take them away by force. Similarly, although a miserly man wants to guard his money very carefully, his family members take away all his assets forcibly, even though he is very vigilant. Okay, Hare Krishna devotees, thank you for coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class on this wonderful topic today. We're in the forest of enjoyment, so we've heard a little bit of the descriptions already, how this material world is meant for entangling the spirit soul in so many different things, in the enjoyments that seemingly it provides. And the verse before was speaking about how the senses are like plunderers, right? Shri Guru Prabhu very nicely spoke about this topic a little bit, how uncontrolled senses, specifically is mentioned, they take away one's hard-earned spiritual consciousness by going here and there and trying to enjoy things, and thus connecting the mind with the sense objects, which then seem to be something of interest, whereas we know that as the spirit souls that we are, we don't have any relationship with these material objects. And so not only are there internal enemies, which we could call the senses and the mind, because they take us away from spiritual consciousness. Actually, Prabhu was also speaking about this, Tara Prabhu, in the Sunday lecture, how the uncontrolled mind especially is the soul's biggest enemy, right? You were citing this verse of Bhagavad Gita, bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana chitta anatmanastu shatrute varte tatmaiva shatruvat. That for one who has not conquered the mind remains the biggest of enemies. But for one who has actually conquered the mind, then the mind becomes his best friend also. So, but as long as the mind is not under control, then it just creates havoc. And I think we all have experience of that, since this is basically the default position of the mind. If we don't try to control it, it goes everywhere and anywhere to try and enjoy what is actually of no value for the soul, really. So these are the internal enemies. And then here, Shukadev Goswami explains to Parikshit, not only are the senses our enemies if they're uncontrolled, but then also other living entities around us might be considered enemies, because they, similarly, like the internal senses, try to take us away from spiritual consciousness. And he makes a very graphic description here, that Prabhupada makes even more graphic, is that actually what we call our family members, and we could extend even to our friends in the material world, our well-wishers so-called, they are actually distracting us from what is really worth investing our attention in. And especially here he's saying that wife and children, and similarly also we could relate to the husband, each is trying to get from the other their satisfaction in the first place. They're not primarily interested in material consciousness to help you or please you in a way that is good for your spiritual life, but rather they try to get some immediate gratification from you. And here in this example, from the husband, by taking the money that the husband earns and spend it in the interest of their sense gratification. And of course we can understand that this is an example of material consciousness, is an example of material family life, and hopefully in devotees' family lives it should be different. And also the main point that I take from this is that we have to be very careful that we try to come out of this illusion, meaning we have to really understand this point. So the Bhagavatam, it makes it very, very clear, especially this 5th canto, is very, very strongly pointing out how material enjoyment leads to misery, and especially how there's a strong, strong binding force in the relationship between men and women, in this hard knot that can come about when man and woman get too much attached to each other for the purpose of sense gratification. And so sometimes it seems like very, very intense when it's described, but we have to understand that why is it coming again and again, so that we really understand how deep this attachment is and how much it is a stumbling block in our spiritual lives. Now, actually, I don't want to go much more into this, because also the next few verses are gonna explain further, but rather I want to dwell a little bit on Gopal Batta Goswami, whose this appearance day it is today. And he's a very wonderful example of a personality that didn't ever get attracted to this material forest of enjoyment. And in this way provides us with a very positive example of how that we can really focus on Krishna, and in this way get the real taste, so that we don't have any interest in going into this enjoyment. And it's a very, very wonderful story of his. I don't know, are you familiar with Gopal Bhatta Goswami? A little bit? Because I wasn't really, and so I was very happy that I got this chance to research about him a little bit. And I went through different very advanced devotees' explanations and elaborations. I studied mainly from Indradyumna Maharaj and Shiva Maharaj and Radhanath Maharaj. So I tried to gather a little bit what they were saying, and yeah, it was very, very inspiring to me, and so I hope I can share this inspiration with you a little bit. So just as a introduction, maybe for Noemi also, who have never heard of the Goswamis. So in Lord Chaitanya's time, 500 years ago, there were 6 main leading followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Mahaprabhu entrusted with his mission, with his instructions to spread Krishna consciousness, to make a solid foundation that Krishna consciousness can eventually spread all over the globe. And so these 6 followers, they were called the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, because Mahaprabhu told them to go to Vrindavan. And he gave them several instructions. Actually, last week, we heard about that, right? Devashri Radhika Machi, I think, was mentioning that also, that they got some instructions to re-establish Vrindavan. So that's the birthplace of Krishna, right, in India, which had become quite dilapidated or even forgotten over time in this Kali Yuga. As time went on, more and more, it is also described how the lotus of Vrindavan closes, so that actually only a very few very qualified souls can really appreciate Vrindavan Dham and see the holy sites, the pastimes that are going on with Krishna even now. But for most, especially materialistic personalities, Vrindavan is not accessible. And so to at least make it a little bit more accessible, the Goswamis were entrusted with re-establishing the pastime places. So finding out what did Krishna do where, and which temples, should we build where, in honor of which pastime, like that. So that's one main mission that they had, and then also to write books to elaborate on the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, save them for posterity. Is that the word, posterity? Posterity. And in this way benefit souls that will come after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so the leader, often they say, so there are 6 Goswamis. We also have several songs about them. There's Rup, Sanatan, Bhatta Raghunath, Jiva, and Gopal Bhatta, and Raghunath Das, Goswamis. These are the 6 Goswamis, so that's their names. And often it is said that the leader is Rupa Goswami, and at the same time, Sanatan Goswami is actually the one who... So all of these personalities, they're very, very special. So even amongst them, to call one the leader and another one the follower is very, very... They're all very, very exalted. Let's put it like this. And each of them had their own specific realizations that he shared with the world and made a unique contribution to Lord Chaitanya's movement of this Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. And so, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he was born in 1500, so just 14 years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. So, which is interesting, that Mahaprabhu was just 14 years older. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami, actually, he is a very hidden personality in many ways. And that's also very interesting. You know, not in the CC, not in Chaitanya Charitamrita, nor in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, nor in Chaitanya Mangal are there descriptions about him. And we will find out more why. But one main reason is that he was a very, very humble Vaishnava. He was very, very humble. He didn't want it to be glorified at all. And so whatever we know mostly is of the Bhakti Ratnakar. And he was born 1500 in Sri Rangam. So that's in South India, which is a very, very famous place because Sri Ranganath is there. It's a main pilgrimage place for the Sri Vaishnavas. So on Saturday we had this Maharaj here, this Acharya. He's a teacher in the line of Sri Vaishnavas, Ramanuja and he's representing that tradition. And so that's the kind of environment that Gopal Bhatta Goswami also grew up in. His father was Venkata Bhatta Goswami. He was a Brahmin by birth and a very, very exalted devotee, and he was very, very learned. And so the family got in contact with Mahaprabhu when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to South India. So after Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, he went on a traveling preaching tour through South India. And as we know, that was only when he was 24 years old. He took sannyas and then left to go to South India. At that time, when he was dancing in Sri Rangam with his devotees and made a big tumult because the devotees, the Sri Vaishnavas, the personalities, people living in that town then were so impressed. Also Venkata Bhatta saw this very effulgent personality and was really, really intrigued and immediately felt that this personality is very, very special. So eventually he invited him to stay with his family, Venkata Bhatta Prabhu. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually ended up staying the whole Chaturmasya for 4 months with the family of Venkata Bhatta there in Sri Rangam. And right away, when he first came, when they washed his feet, as we were speaking about on Sunday, right? That's a tradition that Vaishnavas do. And the water was given to all the family members. When Gopal Bhatta Goswami drank that water, he immediately fell in ecstasy. And he started crying and laughing, and he was like, at that point, 10 years old. So that was 1510. He was only 10 years old, but immediately this ecstatic symptoms would manifest in his body. And from that point on, Gopal Bhatta Goswami would serve Mahaprabhu the whole 4 months that he was there. He would be doing very, very intimate service. He would be massaging him and looking after all his needs. And Mahaprabhu also was very, very confidential with him. So at some time it is described how Mahaprabhu actually addressed him as a very, very confidential companion of Radha. So imagine this is a 10-year-old boy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is sitting there and he's telling him, you're actually a very confidential devotee of Radha in the spiritual world. And to which then Gopal Bhatta Goswami answered that, yeah, but you are the son of Nanda Maharaj, and you're just covered now in this golden hue, but I know that you're actually Krishna. And the Lord remained silent. And in the evening, Gopal, he retreated. But he had one lamentation. He was thinking, okay, now Mahaprabhu, he's a sannyasi, he's traveling far and wide, he's spreading these teachings of his as a sannyasi, but I would love to see him as Nimai, his young pastimes when he was just so innocently playing and then chanting with the devotees. And he was lamenting like that for a long time, and then he came to the conclusion, anyway, who am I? I was not qualified to be there. Even though I wished so much, I would have taken birth there and spent some time with him. So then in the night, he had a dream. And he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing with his associates as Nimai in Mayapur. And he was just in ecstasy seeing that picture. And as the dancing party approached, he could see there's Advaita Acharya, Nityananda. And as Nityananda was trying to embrace Gopal Bhatta, he woke up. And he woke up of this beautiful dream, and he was like in ecstasy. And he immediately ran towards Lord Chaitanya's quarters. And actually, Lord Chaitanya, he knew that he was coming. So he was sitting there on his bed. But he was not in his sannyas form. Rather, he had manifested his Shyam Sundar Krishna form. He was sitting there in a blackish complexion with a peacock feather in his head and the flute on his lips. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami was stunned, of course. He immediately paid his obeisances. And when he got up again, the sannyas manifestation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting there. So in this way, there were many wonderful pastimes just in these 4 months that Mahaprabhu was staying with the Venkata Bhatta family. And then, when Mahaprabhu was about to leave, of course, Gopal, he didn't want that he leaves. And he wanted to stay with the Lord forever. So what he did is, he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to follow him and be his servant, assist him in the mission. But Mahaprabhu, he said, no, you shouldn't do that. You should stay here. You're just a young boy, and also you have such wonderful parents. They will teach you everything that you need to know. Take care of them nicely. Once they leave their body, you go to Vrindavan. So in this way, even at an age of 10, he already got the direct instruction of Mahaprabhu to go to Vrindavan eventually and join the other Goswamis there. Shri Shri Jagannapadev Subhadra Devi Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai. And he also told him, when you go there, you take shelter of Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis. They will give you everything that you will need. And eventually, after a little time, you should also take disciples and guide them further on the spiritual path. So, in this way, Mahaprabhu left Venkata Bhatta, left Sri Rangam, went down south. And little Gopal became a disciple of Prabodhananda Saraswati, I think. Is that correct? I don't have it here. I think Prabodhananda Saraswati, so he had a very, very exalted uncle as well, who is Prabodhananda Saraswati, who wrote many, many books that are very famous in our tradition and very important books also. And so in this time he learned the Shastras, he got very, very learned. You know, the South Indian devotees, the Sri Vaishnavas, they're known to be very great scholars, very well versed in Sanskrit, in the scriptures. But amongst them, Gopal Bhatta was known to be the foremost. And in this way he had a lot of respect from all the other devotees in that area. And also many other devotees therefore glorified Gopal Bhatta in front of his parents and told them, you have such an amazing son. It's very, very astounding which superb qualities he's showing. And the parents were very, very satisfied. They were very, very happy. And so 20 years later, after Mahaprabhu had left, which means when Gopal Bhatta was 30, his parents left their bodies. And they gave him the blessings and the instruction to, now go to Vrindavan, join the Goswamis, and in this way follow Mahaprabhu's instruction. At that time, we have to imagine also that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath-puri, which is not so far from Sri Rangam. And here we have an interesting, dichotomy, or this challenge of what is more important? What do? We follow the Vani of the spiritual master or the Vapu, right? We discussed a little bit also on Sunday. And I kind of emphasized, grab the Vapu when you can. But what did Gopal Bhatta Goswami do at that point? He went straight to Vrindavan. He didn't consider, okay, Mahaprabhu said this, but maybe I could get his association in Jagannath Puri. He straight went to Vrindavan. That also meant that actually, since the age of 10 until the end of his life, Gopal Bhatta Goswami would never see Mahaprabhu again. He only saw him that one time for 4 months and never again. But because they were so intimately united in spirit, in consciousness, he never missed his association in that sense. So that's why he went to Vrindavan, and it was around that time when Mahaprabhu was kind of wandering. One day, it is described how he was sitting in Gadadhar Pandit's home in Jagannath Puri, and he was asking Gadadhar Pandit, whatever happened to this nice boy, Gopal Bhatta? I have never heard of his arrival in Vrindavan. And the devotees there, Gadadhar Pandit, they also didn't know. But just at that moment, a messenger came from Vrindavan. And he brought the news from Rupa and Sanatan that, Gopal Bhatta had arrived and he was studying under them. And so Mahaprabhu was in great ecstasy. And what he did is, he sent some gifts to Gopal Bhatta Goswami together with a letter. And these gifts are very special. He gave one outer cloth that he was wearing, and he gave a sitting place, a wooden sitting place, and then he also gave his kopins, the underwear, to send to Vrindavan. And Indradyumna Maharaj, he explained how he quoted from somewhere, I don't know actually where, but he said that when a kopin of a self-realized personality is accepted as prasad, the influence of Kamadev is reduced. So in this way, that's also an interesting feature, how the kopins of a self-realized devotee are very special. There's also one pastime of Lord Chaitanya when he was ripping apart the underwear of Nityananda and then stringing the strings the strings on his head and telling all the devotees, you do the same. Put these strings of the kopin on your head, and Kamadev, he will immediately leave you alone. All lust will disappear from your heart. So anyway, that letter and these items, they came to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He worshipped these items as if it was Mahaprabhu himself. And also, he again gave Gopal Bhatta Goswami the instruction to initiate himself. Then for many years he practiced in Vrindavan. He lived in a cave actually. So at that time Vrindavan, it was not like now. And mainly there were just small huts and thatched huts, and a lot of devotees, they would have their caves, like it's also described, Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, they would sometimes live in crocodile caves, where before crocodiles had lived, made nice holes, caves, they would occupy these places. So they lived very, very simply and practiced their devotional service. And he became very, very beloved by all the residents of Vrindavan. It is said whoever saw him immediately fell in love with him. And he also, because of his very scholarly background, became a great acharya in the Shastras, and he was ultimately known as the Smriti Acharya. So the main teacher of the Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti scriptures. And he's very famous, of course, for having composed Hari Bhakti Vilas, which later on Sanatana Goswami actually published, printed. That's always, Sanatana Goswami is known as the author, but it is described that Gopal Bhatta Goswami wrote the main content of the book. But again, out of his humility, he didn't want to be the official author. And so he gave it to Sanatana Goswami to give the final touch and publish it in his name. And that's also described by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He writes in Chaiva Dharma, he lists all the main followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and what their specific contribution, or in other words, their mission was, that was given to them by Mahaprabhu. And so he writes that for Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami, it was to write treatises, by which one can easily detect and expose aberrant philosophies and practices adulterating the teachings of pure Shringar Ras. Simultaneously, he was to ensure that the importance of Vaidhi Bhakti was understood and followed. So that was the focus that Gopal Bhatta Goswami was given, so that the importance of Vaidhi Bhakti was understood and followed. Give a clear reference frame, what is Vaidhi Bhakti, how to practice it, and how important it is to do that. One night, Gopal Bhatta Goswami again had a dream of Lord Chaitanya. He had many dreams, it seems, very nice. And in that dream, Mahaprabhu told him, go to the Kali Gandaki river and find Sri Hari there. So the Kali Gandaki river is in the Himalayas, and that's the place where all the Shaligram Shilas are coming from. There's one specific river where Shaligram rivers, Shilas are found. And so he went there, and with a certain procedure, he found which Shilas were actually Sri Hari, and he brought those back, 12 Shilas in total, and worshipped them very diligently, very carefully, and couldn't help himself, though, to actually have this strong desire to worship Krishna in his three-fold bent form, and in this way also being able to clothe him, to give him fine ornaments. Shila worship, Shalagram Shila worship, as we see here, it can be quite simple. Prabhupada actually said you just wake them up, you offer them some items, do an abhishek, and then put them to rest again, basically, and wake them up like this. Whereas with deities, as we have them on the altar, main altar, then there's so many intricacies that come along, right? The clothing and the ornaments and all these things. So he had this strong desire to actually worship Krishna like that. And he then had another dream with Mahaprabhu, where Mahaprabhu told him, don't worry, Krishna will manifest. It just is depending on your intensity and hankering for it. So if you really intensely desire that Krishna should manifest, he will do it, don't worry. And so with that confirmation of Mahaprabhu and with renewed enthusiasm, Gopal Bhatta Goswami was worshipping his Shilas, and he would pray to them that, Krishna, I know that you are in there, in your three-bent form, please manifest like that. And then it came the day after some time of Nrsimha Chaturdasi. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami, his hankering coming to a pinnacle, was saying, okay, enough. I want Krishna to manifest now. And that's what he told his Shilas. He told them, okay, I'm going to take a bath in the Jamuna River. And when I come back, I want you, Krishna, to stand here in your threefold bending form. Otherwise, what I will do, I will take all of you, Shilas, bind them around my head, and just drown myself in the Jamuna. And that was his resolution. No more jokes here. And he also prayed that, Nrsimhadev, just on this very day, you manifested out of a stone, so please now manifest your threefold bending form out of these Shilas. He was praying like that. And then he went to take a bath, and he came back, and lo and behold, of course, Krishna had manifested in the beautiful deity of Radharaman, which is a very special deity. So it is self-manifest from the Shila, not unlike other deities that are carved, like we have here. They're made of wood and then carved out, or of other materials. But this Radharaman deity manifested from a Shila. So it just came out as Krishna in a very beautiful form. And it became one of the main deities of Vrindavan. And it combined all the different main three deities, principal deities. Last week we went through them also with Devashi Radhika Mataji. And we have Makar, there's this three tattvas. There's Sambandha, and then Abhideya and Prayojana, yes. So, and each of these aspects, they have a specific deity in Vrindavan that is connected to these truths, with the understanding that if we pray to this deity, this aspect of Krishna consciousness will manifest in our lives. And that's why devotees take shelter of these deities. So for Sambandha Gyan, it is, which deity we had last week? That's the Gopinath is for Prayojan. Sambandha is the relationship. Madan Mohan. So Sambandha is the relationship that we have with Krishna, understanding this aspect that we are a servant of Krishna eternally. That's the Sambandha Gyan. And for this, we pray to Madan Mohan. And then we have for Abhideya, which is the process. How do we actually practice this? How do we realize this point? We have the deity of Radha Govinda. Yes. And then for Prayojan, we have Radha Gopinath. They, in this way, personify the topmost aspect of our philosophy, which is Prema Bhakti. And so this Madan Mohan deity now is described to have the feet of Madan Mohan, and the chest of Radha Govinda, and the face of Radha Gopinath, or of Gopinath, yeah. So in this way, he's a fusion of all the different deities, manifesting all these aspects in one. And that's why he's worshipped and loved very much in Vrindavan. And so, of course, Gopal Batta Goswami was extremely enthusiastic and inspired and overwhelmed with emotions when this happened. And he really worshipped Radharaman with so much love and dedication for a long time. But then he had another lamentation that developed in his heart, is that I have so much love and time that I spend with Radharaman, but what about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? I feel like I'm neglecting the worship of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what happened then? Out of this Radharaman deity, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu manifested. And in this way, again, Mahaprabhu showed that he's none different from Radharaman, from Krishna, and that he need not worry about that point. When this actually happened, Gopal Bhatta Goswami started initiating. From that point onwards, he had many very high-standing disciples, of which is foremostly known Srinivasacharya, who actually was guided by Jiva Goswami to take initiation from Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And Srinivasacharya, of course, we know, was later on the one who, together with Shyamananda Pandit, and who was the third? Shyamananda Pandit. There's always one, right? Srinivas and one more devotee. They were the first book distributors in our movement. They took the scriptures of Jiva Goswami and brought them back to Bengal, back to Mayapur. And until today, Gopal Bhatta Goswami's influence is there in the worship of Radharaman, because he set very high standards, being the personification and the example for how Vaidhi Bhakti, and therefore also the regulations for deity worship, should be conducted. It still is the standard for nowadays worship of Radharaman, and that's why also Srila Prabhupada told his disciples actually to, when they were in Vrindavan, to go see how they worship Radharaman, to learn what is the perfect worship of the deity. And even Srila Prabhupada also, when he was in Vrindavan previously, before he went to the West, he would always go around in the morning to take darshan of the different deities, and he spent a lot of time with Radharaman. It is said, because he lived in Radha Damodar temple, but after that he would first go to Radharaman. And often he would be chanting his japa at the samadhi of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, so the resting place of his transcendental body. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami then left his body in 1586, which marks exactly 100 years after the passing of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he lived actually a very long life. He was 86 years old when he left this world, which is quite an age for the 1500s. And in this way still, we are very indebted to Gopal Bhatta Goswami for giving us all these beautiful examples throughout his life, and then through his teachings of what it means to be a Vaishnav and a follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shri Vaishnav Thakur Ki Jai. So Hare Krishna, that was my little exploration of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And we can pray to him today that he will manifest in our heart this eagerness and desire that we really want to see Krishna, right now, and we cannot wait. And that we also take up these resolutions, maybe not that we go drown ourselves, if we're not there yet, but that we really have this strong resolution that, okay, today I will make the utmost endeavor that I can see Krishna, that I can be with him and serve him. Because essentially that's what we all need in our lives, this strong intensity. Tivrena bhakti, right? This strong desire to advance in Krishna consciousness and come closer to Krishna every day. Okay, maybe you have something to add, maybe some pastime about Gopal Batta Goswami or anything else. Yes, please.
So when Mahaprabhu manifested from Radharaman, he just manifested and then he went back inside?
Yes, yeah. I think also how it is described is rather he manifested as a deity,
He manifested
as a deity, but just temporarily, and then I don't think he manifested like in his full life-size form, as far as I understood.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for this podcast. Could it be that the story how Radharaman was taking shape is a bit different from each person who is narrating?
Actually, in the Dilna Maharaj, he mentioned that there's two bona fide accounts, and he said that this was his favorite one, and I also liked it. That how he came out. Did you hear something else? I don't know the second.
Sure, I think I heard the story a bit differently. That someone gifted him clothes, and he was really eager to serve. And then actually overnight, the deity was like the Shiva was not there anymore.
This is also there, that actually some rich merchant came to Vrindavan and gifted the Goswamis a lot of jewelries and nice outfits, and that they didn't have deities for actually, and so. But the other aspect that he just manifests overnight, I didn't hear, but it's possible. Yeah. So.
To worship of Radharaman and Radha Mataji and Yogeshwar Prabhu, they're actually now serving Radharaman. And she was telling me that even for people who are chopping vegetables for them, they have to fast till they have to chant all day round and fast till they go to chop these vegetables. And of course you have to be clean and yeah, this is very it's a very hidden place. Not everyone can go there.
Right.
So just this aspect is very good.
That's true. Who is the acharya there? You know?
Is it Padmanabha Goswami still?
Yeah, might be. But they have very good connections with this one devotee who is there, who is quite famous.
She always tells about Pundarik Swami.
Yeah, Pundarik Swami. It's not Pundarik Swami. Yeah, but that's true. I think when Ajay was a child also, so he's the son of Yogeshwar and Yogeshwar Prabhu and Mataji, so they were there a lot. And he got a lot of blessings, he was on the altar and doing this and that. He was crawling around there. It's quite amazing. Anyway, I won't find it right now. But yeah, you can also look up the deity, get darshan of him today, Radha Raman. It's also an interesting detail is, he's Radha Raman, so he's just a deity of Krishna. There's actually no Radharani to him, because usually we always worship Radha Madha Mohan or Radha Gopinath. So there what they do is they have an asan, and then they have a cloth, and beneath that cloth is a peacock feather on which the name of Radharani is written. So in this way, Radharani is manifest as this peacock feather next to Radharaman. It's also very sweet.
Do you know the history behind that?
No. No. You know?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so there's many beautiful lectures actually, if you want to go a little bit deeper, on YouTube. So many amazing Vaishnavas have spoken about Gopal Bhatta Goswami, so if you like, you can also dwell further on that. Okay, thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Gopal Batta Gosvami ki jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.